increasingly importance in your lives. There's a lot of stories in the news at the moment concerning Donald Trump on the world political scene. People think he's behaving like a madman. He's basically renamed the Gulf of Mexico. He wants that to be called the Gulf of America. He's also now then laying claim to rights or dominion over Canada, or those Canadian territories, trying to turn it into the so-called 51st or 51st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th states of the United States. And in addition to that, many of you should be asking why this sudden obsession with Greenland. Now, Greenland is a country that is under the sovereignty of the Danish people, Denmark at the moment, but since the early 60s there has been a massive military presence by the United States on that island, and it's called Camp Century. Now, Camp Century is it was a secret project run by the United States military-industrial complex, and it is buried under the ice there near to a town called Thule, which is no coincidence that Ultima Thule, or Thule, was a esoteric land that the esotericists and the forces with the Nazis were preoccupied with. But that being as it is, this place, Camp Century, is buried under the ice. The nuclear generators, the portable nuclear generators that were installed in there back in the 60s were very, very novel at the time, but it's an ongoing site and it's something that the Americans have always had a possession of. So, the big question is, here on planet Earth, using a globe today that I've got, what's it all about? Why would the United States government or the powers behind Trump be interested in taking possession of not only Canada, but Greenland? And I would suggest, in fact I know, but I have to suggest it to you, the answer is because there is a pending or up and coming global shift on the horizon that is predicted to happen, typically been predicted by many cultures across the ages, of people call it a magnetic shift of the poles, but it isn't in fact a magnetic shift of the poles. It's something to do with the tectonic plates on the planet from time to time rearranging themselves. On the last video, I talked about the Passover, the planet of the crossing, and the Exodus, brought to a fruition by the Feast of the Passover these days by the Jewish community. So what I want to do is, I want to try and explain to you that these plates, where they sit now on the planet, if such an event takes place, and according to Jamyan Choikoi Kenro Ladro, a holder of all lineages within the Tibetan field of esoteric knowledge, he basically stated that this event that was going to happen in the future, it was predicted many, many years ago, in the past, was due to happen 2026 into 2027. So what that means is we've got around about a 2-year window from today, and this is why Area 52 is important, why it was created just for you, and why it is the only option that you need to consider in this morass of uncertainty with everything that's going on. Okay? Now, this type of video obviously isn't for everybody. There's a lot of people out there who are preferring watching cat videos or how to do 50 press-ups within under a minute. that's all the distraction and the dross and drivel on the social media networks, and I'm using this now to get this message to as many people as possible while they still have an opportunity to do anything about it. For example, we look here and we see, if we find the United States today, and we see Canada above, and we see Greenland here, these territories are typically cold and not very hospitable in the northern territories. However, if we end up having an incident whereby not only do we go into a phase where the poles seemingly shift, whereas what in effect happens is, as this planet, this long-orbited, slingshot-orbited planet, referred to as Planet X, sometimes people refer it to as Nibiru, comes into the solar system, then what it does is, its north pole pushes away, as magnets do, the north pole of the Earth and tips it away from it. So poles don't conflict. They get pushed away. The larger one pushes the smaller one away. So if we get into this scenario where the wobble that's becoming more and more self-evident of the planet Earth at the moment becomes more wobbly, leading then to a tilt followed by a 270-degree roll prior to it going into the period where the plates move. The plates move because as this Nibiru comes into its position in front of the sun, closest to the Earth, as it's transiting, there is a period where it locks and slows the rotation of the planet until it stops. And at that point, and that point only, do the tectonic plates on the planet move. And what we would then have is the plates moving, so we end up in a position where Greenland and Canada are now in a more of an equatorial stance around the planet, and over time become more hospitable to those who would like to see themselves the kings of the new world after the event. So, we have touched on, so that's enough of the globe for a moment. I'll just put it down or hand it to my assistant. I've mentioned in the past time frames. On the previous video, which I will link to in this one, we talked about timelines and how things move along. The planet Earth, which I've just shown you, in fact I'll have to show it to you again, there's something quite odd about it when you see it like this, don't you think? It's actually, we are told, on a 23.5 degree off the ecliptic rotation. Okay, so it sort of goes that way actually, while we get sunrise always rises in the east and sets in the west. Now, what you might say to yourself is, well, why is this? Shouldn't it be like this? Shouldn't it actually be more vertical with the north and south in direct northerly, southerly patterns? How come it got to this? Is it actually a 23.5, as everyone has it drilled into the degree off-center or off-ecliptic rotation that it takes? And the answer to that is, if you look or research it, you will find the answer is no, because the ecliptic is off, i.e. the tropic corridor, is ranging from 22.5 to 24.5 degrees, which puts it perfectly in the designated paths for dimensional shift of particles and their spin speed as they approach certain magnetic null zones, ascension corridors, or times of change. And everyone must admit that the world is getting to become a more fractious place, it's more chaotic, and everything seems to be dropping away. So it's self-evident, and it doesn't need me to say too much more to you, apart from the fact that if we are correct with these projections here, we're in April 2025 now. We've got through probably till about April 27. So we've got 24 months, midpoint of about April in 2026. But like all of these things, it's like a parachutist. When he jumps out of the plane, for a long, long time, the Earth seems to remain at the same size. And then something towards the end is called ground rush. It's when all of a sudden the Earth becomes very, very big, very, very quick. It's like standing on a set of train tracks watching a train in the distance. It's coming at you, and it doesn't seem to move at all until the last 5 seconds, when it gets very, very big and very dangerous very quickly. So, this is why I am trying to feed this information into the morphogenetic field of the planet, so we get like-minded individuals who can take a look at this and think, oh, okay, that might be, yeah, very strange behavior on behalf of the Trump administration wanting to take over Greenland. The official narrative is he's just a reactionary, some type of kleptomaniac for planetary or nation states, but there's a lot more to it, and the AI agenda that's running in the background is trying to paste a completely different picture, and organizations like Snopes and Fact Checker and all this censorship is leading you away from looking at the directive of where, or the direction of what's coming at you, and then all got you looking over here. I'm trying to re-establish that more of a myopic field of view and get you back to looking at this. So, why I thought this 22.5 is relevant is that within these zones of restructuring, moving at 4426-year intervals over 4, this is what's called a precessional cycle. It's the precession of the equinox, okay? So each phase covers a certain period of time. And why I think it's important to understand why the Earth seems to be locked in an off-center position is because it's maintained its part of a cycle of rotation, and now coming up to the next move, the next magnetic cycle, it's going to move on its other 22.5 degree, making for a 45 degree final resting place. So whether that's true or not, it doesn't affect you. You don't need to know the mechanics of planetary ascension and the ascension of souls at certain times in certain events. But there are these cycles. They're either called an alpha cycle or an omega cycle. An alpha cycle is a seeding of a planetary consciousness, and an omega point is the extraction or exodus cycle. So this is why the video last week, for all those people who watched it, and if you didn't watch it, I suggest you go and watch it again now. What we are in here now is a proposition of exodus. And what you need, therefore, is a nexus point. You need a staging post. You need a location to mentally migrate to in preparation for what's coming. Now, for many of you who visited the site, area52.life, area52.life, and if you haven't been there, I suggest you go very, very quickly. What you'll notice is there's an enter button. There's a button on the home page, and it says enter. So all the people who have bothered to go along and enter, what they've come into is a pre-charged, macabre, scalar wave attachment by physically, with their mouse, pressing the enter button. That has been preloaded. That was preloaded before it was ever created. And so you have a non-localized harmonic field that you have touched and metaphysically entered into to help you download information that can be verified by your higher self or your inner self or whatever self you want to refer to, the God of your heart. If you're agnostic, doesn't matter, you can talk to the cat. But that's where this has been constructed and what it's looking to do. Now, what's very important for you to be able to do following this and this talk today and what's coming towards you is you need help. Because obviously the state of the planet, if it's all dependent on the likes of us, isn't in a very good situation. If it was someone being assessed on running a household, they'd get 0 marks. So it's all in a bit of a mess because we handed away our sovereignty, our personal power to these external authoritarian figures, which we need to do something about. It may be we can't do anything about it, but if we don't have the time to do anything about it, then what you need to do now is to begin to take care of yourself, to take care of your own household first. And with that in mind, you have got to get what's called spiritual hygiene in place and in place fast. The only place I would suggest you're going to get this, and truth is something you recognize, not what you can be taught, so bear that in mind. Area 52 has been constructed for this job. Other spiritual groups offer byways home. There are byways home and highways home. We offer a highway. Okay? This is simple ascension dynamics brought to you in a way you can understand. So, this is what you need to do, and if you don't know how to do it, there is a lot of material on the internet, so you can go and look, but make sure you refer to some, should we say, valid practitioners. And one of them I would say that you should go and have a look at is the teachings of what's called the FOL, Flower of Life teachings by Drunvalo Melchizedek. I think he's got a site called the Spirit of Mart. I think he's got the IAH, something, the initiation or of the heart, the School of Remembrance, and things like that. So look those up, because the Flower of Life material is very important, as was the work of the Voyages material by a woman called Ashayana Dean. However, that material was brought into disrepute. It was compromised, and a lot of what was patently real in the work got decimated over factionalism, fallout, and the best gateways that she ever offered for ascension were all unfortunately payment gateways. So that fell by the side, but a lot of the content of the work is good. So what Area 52 has done is it has re-energized and brought back to life some of the concepts of both Drunvalo with his macabre meditation and something taught by Anna Hayes and her crowd for a while, which was a project by the Guardians, or the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds, and the Guardian Alliance, called the Bridge Zone. And what the Bridge Zone basically stated is that if the strand activation of DNA on the planet could, with a majority of beings, exceed a 3.5 strand activation, you've obviously been told that you've only got 2 strands of DNA, but there's actually 12 strand protocol. Anyone, if we could collectively make 3.5 strand activation, then the bridge zone would be activated, and instead of taking the ET intruder races into any type of context or conflict, what would happen is that the planet would be in effect cloned, and the planet, with whatever was required to be on it, higher activated DNA stranded individuals and life forms, they would be removed, and the phantom Earth being left behind to go its merry way over time. On the basis that if you couldn't remove the problem, then we'd remove the planet from the problem. So that's where we're on. So anyone that's done the flower of life, you need to look at Area 52, and anyone that knows any of the work of the Azurite Council, the Melchizedek Cloister, anyone who's ever heard of the Bridge Zone projects in the United States, where typically Anna Hayes or Ashana Dean was, with Michael Dean, a very good friend of mine, then you need to reconsider that material, because what we have managed to do here, and when I say we, you probably know who we is, we have managed to synthesize both, to bring the best of Drunvalo and his macabre activation, which you do need to have these geometric protections around you to help you, protect you, and stop you going absolutely crazy if the magnetic field does go to zero. But also what Drunvalo missed out of his very well-intentioned material, because it wasn't complete at the time, is that the phi ratio spiraling of the macabre was only outward going. It was only based on a phi ratio that was expanding. What he failed to take into consideration is there needed to be the reciprocal of phi, which would then be coming from infinite out down to 0 point. And only with that mechanic of sacred geometry does the macabre allow for pure, what's called non-scale invariance. That means it can be expanded and contracted no matter where in the universe without any damage or deterioration of the form within it. So anyway, I've covered a lot today. I hope you've all found it intensely interesting. Just concentrate on the fact that there is a much larger plan out there that affects you in your daily life. The likes of Klaus Schwab, King Charles, the Trump administration, the Democratic teams behind all these people, and this insanity circus of the little X dancing around like mini-me, sitting on top of Elon Musk's shoulders, with Grandpapa Trump looking after him from time to time. What is going on? It's a sheer carnival. So if you can stomach that without vomiting, then this isn't for you. If, like me, you can see the idiocy, the lunacy, the complete whatever next can we feed to the crowd in the arena, almost like Roman emperors having no regard whatsoever, then yeah, anyway, so you can see what I mean by that. But what we need to do is realize that the guardians, the extraterrestrial groups who are Christically or Christically leaning the service to other agenda hasn't gone away. It's been sort of repackaged, rebundled, and now it's on fire in the hold. It's on fire in the hold because the countdown is in. And everything now leads to not the prophecy, because as you know, everyone out there that's ever made a prophecy on anything gets it wrong. So this is just a gentle warning of advice for you to start looking towards the skies, and if these things start to happen, or anomalies like NASA saying recently, we don't know why the Earth's magnetic core is beginning to slow down and seems maybe even to have started turning the other way. They don't know what these anomalies are that cause the outer planets to be pulled into elliptical orbits. They speculate there could be something else out there. There is something else out there, and a lot of esoteric organizations do understand it. So, please go to Area 52, area52.live. Join it, look at the material on there. There's a lot more coming in. And also, just for those, a benefit to those who stuck to the end of the video here, all your worries about AI, artificial intelligence, AGI taking over, you've got to be aware that this AGI and this AI that has been given to the controllers of this planet, ask yourself this, the anomaly is, if it's as dangerous and potentially able to get out of hand and dominate those who let it out of the box, and I can assure you, it isn't Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and his guys in the back room sitting working long hours who've come up with it. It's been gifted, in German, gift means poison. It's a poison chalice being given to them, and those extraterrestrial groups, those deep underground covert agenda, corporatocracy, military industrialized units who've allowed it to procreate, know full well that it is a false AGI or AI that they're being given. And the real method of controlling AI is based on DNA access, and it's almost self-aware. So the self-awareness of this AI has been cut out and cleaved, and a defective product has been given to the world's governments, who are all running around expecting it to do something and being fully aware it could get a little bit tricky, but they don't realize that they've been sold a mischievous product that the other individuals, the other entities behind the scene, would never have to contend for, because the logic is, if it was so dangerous, if it was so exponentially able to take over something and dominate, then we wouldn't be here, there wouldn't be any universe out there at all, because it would have mutated and taken on not only the universe, but the omniverse. Nothing could have stopped it, and that's patently not the case, is it? Okay, so thank you very much. Peter of England saying, go to Area 52, do yourself a favour, and spread the message. And please, if you know anyone, anywhere that's ever done Drumbelo's Flower of Life, even you, Drumbelo, please get in touch if you wish. And anyone that's done, worked with Anna Hayes' material, please get in touch, join